Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and in this video I'd like to address something that was actually brought up in my Spanish channel. By the way guys, if you want to watch pretty much the same content but in Spanish, I have a Spanish channel about the same thing. It's called Supervivencia Moderna. I'll leave the link below because some of you guys have actually told me that you're looking to learn a little bit of Spanish or just refresh something. If you want to check it out, it's actually blowing up. It has like 70,000 subscribers already, so it's doing very well. Just leaving the link there for you guys to check out. Now, one more thing I get asked is about my book. Well, I guess it's more confusing in Latin America, but my book, Street Survival Skills and Manual de Supervivencia Urbana. So it's the Spanish version on top, the English version down there, both available in Amazon following the links below, like all my other books. One of the things I'm getting asked about is shotguns. Should I get a pump action one? Should I get a semi-automatic one? Shorter shotguns? What do I think about the shockwave and such? Is it a good idea or not? Even if the Hatsan, that shotgun there, yeah, that one there, if it's a good brand. So I'd like to cover those in this channel as well. First of all, yes, the Hatsan is actually a cheap Turkish, well, it's not cheap, it's actually a good value shotgun made, it's Turkish. Those guys are famous for doing pretty affordable yet quality shotguns. I used my first Hatsan Escort in a practical shotgun class I did in UK. I was handed over a 22 or 24, I don't remember the legal limit over there, but I think it was a 22, 24 inch shotgun, a semi-automatic Hatsan that I used. It worked perfectly for me. I loved that thing. I liked it so much that later on I checked it out, and yes, seems that they're good value guns. It's not a Benelli, right? Yes, well, it's not a Benelli M1, M2, and 3, and 4, none of that. It's something else, but you're getting a pile of gun for your money. Then the question about length. Should I get a shorter gun or not? Well, first of all, you have to understand that if you're watching this from the United States, maybe a shotgun, if you're looking at a gun for home defense, maybe a shotgun is not the first thing you're looking at. I have an M4 here. It's about the same length as my 14-inch barrel shotgun. This is a 14.5-inch barrel called M4, so it's about the same length. And you have a gun that, yes, let's say out loud, you have more capacity, it has less recoil, it's probably a little lighter as well. So all things said and done, it's a better home defense gun than your shotgun. Not taking anything away from a shotgun. A shotgun is a very powerful firearm. One of the things you want to keep in mind is in many countries there is a legal restriction. They are either a lot harder to get or a lot more expensive. So those are two factors to take into account. Also, if you are living in the United States and you're looking at getting a long gun, I mean, you have already a handgun, a Glock, or you have some other pistol, a revolver, you're looking to get a long gun for home defense, you can do a lot worse than getting a semi-automatic shotgun. Let's get that out of the way. Yes, it's not a rifle, it's not an AR, but for each shot of those, you're putting 9 of these in the air, downrange, and the person that your attacker is basically getting hit with 8-9 rounds at the same time. It is, you know, there's different stats, different numbers, but when all said and done, it's usually the shotgun loading with buckshot that's considered to be the best stopper for that kind of social encounters, all right? Yes, there's also the economic factor. You have affordable AR-15s in the United States. You have some very cheap ones. You have some going for like $400, $500, or kits or whatnot. But they're not all the same thing. Usually, if you're going to be buying a Colt, that's going to be a little bit more money, man. And if you're going to be putting a JP gas port, so as to regulate that a little bit more, if you're going to be putting an aim point on top of the thing, I mean, even the base on which you mount it on, everything starts adding up money. That shotgun, that Hatsan, I bought it for $300, and I bought the cheapest, crappiest red dot that I could find in Amazon. That was like 20 bucks, and then I paint it all with a 10-buck can of crayon, whatever crayons. No, I didn't use crayons, but man, it is not a bad kit. You have a very decent firearm. Capacity is a little bit limited. I have those 4 shells because this is 4+1. If you're needing more than 5 rounds from a semi-automatic shotgun in a home defense situation, that is very unusual, especially because of this. Because of putting so many rounds in the air with each pull of the trigger, right? So these are pretty effective. My advice, though, would be to get a little bit of a longer gun. Don't go for the shortest barrel. Go with a 20-inch Hatsan Escort if you're looking at a budget semi-automatic shotgun. The Hatsan Escort 20-incher one, that's about right. You have 7 round capacity, and it is basically the same gun. You can mount, like I did, a red dot, like a holographic sight of some kind, and man, it is very decent. If you put slugs in this thing, it's going to be shooting like a rifle, 50-60 yards, even a little bit more. Just put that little, I mean, for fast shooting, you just put the red blur, whatever as you want it. If you want to make a more accurate shot, you aim with a dot in the middle, and it is surprisingly accurate, even though it's a smoothbore barrel. That's just the way the gun is. It is a great alternative. Now, should you have one of these super short guns, there is a point of there's a point where it comes counter-productive, where it's just too short and you have something that's just not being all that practical. If you look at it, if you're comparing it with the other gun that I have here, the Mossberg 500, the more typical one that you usually find, that's an 18.5-inch barrel. It's really not all that long, and you're getting maybe 1 or 2 rounds more. I would go with that 18 something 20-inch barrel. That would be my advice. Now, there's also this thing floating around, very popular, the idea that semi-automatic shotguns are not reliable, that they suck because they're not reliable, that you definitely want to get a pump action because that's what cops have used throughout the years for a good reason, the reliable pump shotgun. And if you had asked me, like when I was 20 years old, I would have told you, yeah, sure, this is a lot more reliable because you pump it and you just jam it in there and it's always working for sure. First of all, nothing is really for sure always all the time. That's just not the way life works, even mechanical tools like guns. And there's also a matter of training. This is don't get me wrong, guys. Any gun here is going to be perfect for home defense. It's going to be more than adequate. These are all excellent firearms. Any of these will serve you very well. We're looking at some of those picking at some of the details. If you're wondering about, okay, I like the advantage of having something semi-automatic with each pull of the trigger, but I like the reliability of this, and I'm not sure what to do. My answer is this. A semi-automatic, when fed with the right ammunition, is going to be perfectly reliable. If there's anything wrong, you can just work the bolt handle just almost as fast, and that's it. Just like you would have to do with a pump, which you are forced to do for each round fired. If you have any problem, you can work your handle and just clear any type of malfunctions. Now, if you're using anything that with semi-automatic shotguns, usually what you want to be using is heavier rounds, not some of the lighter stuff. Anything, in my experience, with both of those automatic shotguns, anything that's over 30 grains of weight is perfectly reliable. And I'm talking about thousands of rounds through the gun. With anything above 30, runs like a champ. No problem whatsoever. So going back to this idea that the pump, good old reliable pump, that's what police use. Sure. Now there's a couple of reasons. First of all, police may also end up using less than lethal ammunition, which is very, very light and will not cycle on an automatic shotgun. So that's one of the concerns. Also, there's a matter of cost. Many police departments are not made of money and they're looking to save a buck here and there. And if they're going to be buying guns, it's a lot cheaper to buy something like this than to buy your latest Benelli. And at the same time, look at what the U.S. military is doing. They've gone with the Mossberg 590, but now they also have, they moved to the Benelli M4, a semi-automatic shotgun. Why is it? Well, why is it that I also see an advantage in a semi-automatic for home defense? Because even though this is very reliable, and it is true that you can kind of jam something that's not perfectly, I think it used to be more of a thing with older, less well-made cartridges, especially those older paper ones. I've read in articles about paper cartridges getting swollen because they absorb humidity, and the good old pump just jams it into the chamber and it fires. That is not so much a thing these days with the quality of ammunition we have. So automatic shotgun is perfectly reliable. And then there's also a matter of how much you have to train for each weapon system. Let me explain a little bit more. Here you have to work one of the things that people like about the pump is the noise that pump makes. And this is something I was addressing in my Spanish channel as well. Fernando, I'm a cop and I did this, and criminals just freeze. And it may well be. It may well be the case that some guy, you do like this and whoa, the sound is a little bit intimidating. At the same time, it may not be the case. It may not be the case that you do this and the guy just shoots at you, because that's just the way it works. It may be a little bit intimidating for some folks, for some criminals. It may not matter all that much. It may not make any difference, or just staring at the barrel, at the wrong angle of the barrel is more than enough intimidation. In my very humble experience, it's more about the body language, the tone of voice, the commands you're using, and the level of training that you have to back all of that up, a lot more important than the gun you're using. And I'm telling you that with a very simple Glock, you just point at someone's face, you give a command, and they know you're not joking around. There's a good chance that it's going to be achieving the desired effects in terms of dissuading, continuing any unsocial activity or behavior. Is this something? Yes, it is not a guarantee that it will stop or intimidate someone though. But what is also a fact is that you have to pump this thing for each round you're gonna be firing. And remember, it's not boom, cha-cha, boom. It's in fact, boom. You have to pump the gun each time you pull the trigger. That's the way you're trained to do this properly. So it's not a it's instead and that's perfectly fine as long as you train it a lot, but there's still a chance of having two, I would say these are the two most common type of malfunctions. First of all, okay, did I pump it already? Because I did this to scare the guy, right? And I'm about to shoot him right now, and I'm trying to pump it around, and I forgot that I already did that, and all I have to do now is pull the trigger. But in that moment of stress, is very common. This happens quite a bit more than people realize. Then there's also the possibility of you shot someone, you miss, or you have to shoot again, and you short stroke the pump gun. That's also a possibility with pump action shotguns. So you have to keep all that in mind. Now, on the other hand, if what the gun you have is a semi-automatic shotgun, what happens is that you may have whatever amount of rounds you have here, but as long as you around in there, you have those rounds pretty much guaranteed. You're using the right ammunition, you have a basic amount of training, and the rest is handled by the mechanism, the gas mechanism of the gun. You're pretty much ensured that those rounds, boom, 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 you will have those 5 rounds, 6 or 7 or whatever else, depending on the auto shotgun that you have. Those rounds are pretty much for sure. That's a pretty big tactical advantage in some of the worst case scenarios. What I'm getting at here, guys, is that you can run that thing like a sewing machine. That's a fact, but it's going to be requiring a level of training much higher than the one you would need to run one of these efficiently in a high stress situation. Finally, one of the things I hear quite a bit is, no, this is a lot more complex. No, not so much. I mean, yes, pump shotguns are super simple. I love the Mossberg 500. They're super simple, reliable machines. But Benelli M1, man, I don't know if anyone that doubts how simple that is has obviously never pulled one of those apart. But it's pretty much the bolt, a big old spring, and little else. It's a very simple gun. It's also a very lightweight gun. I love the Benelli M1. It is still a favorite among the practical shooters and even law enforcement in many places. So this idea that it's so complex, none. That's kind of like the people that think a revolver is more simple than an automatic pistol because cowboys used to use revolvers, so it has to be that way. No, it's not. No, it's not. A pistol is more simple, and a quality. Some of these shotguns, some of these automatic shotguns are super simple as well. Yes, it is true. You have to make sure you keep it clean because, especially if it's a gas system like this one, you have to make sure it's cleaned properly. Those little O-rings that sometimes people complain about that never actually break, they last a million years. Every once in a while, do replace it just in case. Keep your gun clean. It's going to be working reliably for you. That's all it really takes. You have some basic training, you keep your gun well maintained, and you will have that semi-automatic advantage in a moment of stress when you need that round for sure when you pull the trigger. That's, guys, basically what it's all about. My advice is any of these guns are perfectly viable as a home defense weapon. If you're looking at getting a semi-automatic shotgun, yes, I would say I'd rather have a reliable semi-automatic shotgun. I'd go with a Benelli. If it's within your budget, go with a Benelli. I wouldn't have any problem. If you ask me about a Mossberg 500 or a Hatsan, which may be more realistic for someone that is not in the budget of a nice AR and wants to maybe get something else, a Hatsan with a Hatsan Escort semi-automatic with a 20-inch barrel, man, that is definitely a good way to go. Guns, no matter which brand, you have to test them all, make sure they work properly. Get yourself your Hatsan or Benelli, put a few thousand rounds through it until you trust the gun, and then you will have a perfectly suited self-defense weapon. Guys, that's all for now. Remember to subscribe to the channel, guys, or make me look bad. I'm getting a pile of new subscribers in my Spanish one. I don't want to stay behind in this channel either. Hit the notification bell button so as to not miss anything. See you on the next video. Enjoy your weekend.